This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Picking up hour two here, Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. If you missed any of the first hour of the program, great conversations with Mike Palm, VP of Operations here at Circa, talking through some of the potential changes for the Circa Survivor contest, which we will find out the guarantee coming up very soon. Also, Will Hill with some of his favorite plays for the NBA doubleheader coming up tonight. Little Major League Baseball talk as well. Speaking of the NBA, though, Zach Cohen is going to join us in about 30 minutes. Host of Hardwood Handicappers, does a great job covering the NBA and a slew of things over at vsin.com. But you can check anything you missed out when you download the Money Moves podcast, wherever you get your podcast as well. We'll have best bets at the end of the hour like we always do, JVT. But I kind of wanted to get started here with a little of the NFL schedule release conversation. It's interesting. This league is so popular that it has taken its schedule release that very easily could be and probably should be an email and turned it into one of these just super hyped up things. It gets fans excited. I know it's like the Super Bowl for the social media and content teams trying to see who can have the best video and everything out there. Any schedules or videos that caught your attention yesterday?
I watched none of the videos.
You lie. We talked about some of them that you watched today.
You watched me watch the videos that I watched.
So half of like two?
Two? No. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The Raiders had a video. I watched without sound.
Well, that defeats the whole purpose. What?
And then we were out yesterday. I was told to watch it. We were out of the local establishment. I was watching it, but I did watch it without sound. And then I watched like 60 seconds I watched Matt Ryan drop an F-bomb at one point. And then the end of the Colts video, because you told me to watch it. That was it.
So the Colts one was cute because for anyone that's a Simpsons fan, it's all the real characters. It's the schedule. Like they did it really nicely. I thought that theirs was cute. The Falcons one that you referenced. So this is a gripe I had with the Falcons one and a handful of different schedule releases. The videos weren't schedule releases. They were just videos. And then some of them didn't even have the schedule at the end of them, and some of them would just have a slate of the schedule at the end. I like the videos that are a reveal, each one, or make you think a little bit or make you laugh. And granted, I thought that the Falcons, because it was a play on This Is Sports Center, but it was like This Is Falcons HQ or whatever. They had really funny, cute videos that I think Atlanta could have like sprinkled those out throughout the course of the season or something like that as just fun little asides.
Sure.
But instead, they do this long 6.5 minute video that I don't want to sit there and just watch back to back to back to back Falcons commercials essentially and then never get the schedule.
Yeah, I think we've kind of jumped the shark to use that term on the whole scheduling thing, so we can move on from there. But I will say Atlanta's schedule overall, we know who the opponents were, as you have pointed out, so it doesn't really matter. It's the order in which they will appear on the schedule. And I think one of the things that sticks out about Atlanta is not only do we know they were getting to get some of their harder opponents at home, they're going to get them in consecutive weeks, which I think is a pretty good thing for them. You look at the breakdown for it, coming off of 3 of 4 on the road to open the season, at the Steelers, home against the Panthers, then at Packers, at Saints. Those are going to be some pretty difficult opponents, and as are the next few. But at the very least, 3 straight weeks at home, Ravens, Bears, 49ers, before you go to the Buccaneers in week 8. So it's beneficial at the very least to be home, get comfortable, play 3 straight home games. And if you're going to play these home contests, it's going to be against the tougher opponents, having a very slight home field advantage. Again, home field advantage being worth about a point and a half, depending on what you want to look at. So I think at the very least for Atlanta, a team that I'm relatively high on in the sense of where they're at and being priced, with a future MVP in Tua Tagovailoa as their starting quarterback potentially, I do think that it bodes well for them. They're going to get these long swaths of home games here. But, week 8, week 9, before you take on the Chiefs, that's going to be tough too because it's at Bucs, then you go to Madrid, back home for Kansas City before your bye week.
The Ravens were another team I wanted to ask you about. Their schedule release video was actually Zay Flowers crashing a wedding of these Ravens fans. And it was real. Like, they really went to the wedding. So that was kind of just cool for them as fans. But in terms of
Did they do it in the style of Wedding Crashers with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, or did they do it in the style of Maroon 5 in the music video Sugar?
I have not seen Sugar to know. What's the difference?
I don't know. He just they just performed at the wedding. I can't really remember the details.
This is, I don't think, the same for either of them. They just announced and like one of your favorite Ravens wide receivers is here, and then Zay partied with them and stuff.
What I'm hearing is that Zay Flowers ruined the moment made it about himself.
No.
In somebody else's wedding.
No, the husband actually had whatever their mascot is there, like he did that for his wife as a surprise for her, and then the team was like, hey, we can actually up the ante on this bad boy. Anyways,
like getting married to Disney adults.
You can make kind of. The Ravens should not, at least on paper, stumble out the gates the way that they did last year. If you remember, Baltimore went 1-5 to start the season. Their first 6 opponents this year all posted losing records last year. No shade to your Colts, but that is how they start the season. Week 1, the Saints, Cowboys, Titans, the aforementioned Falcons, and then the Browns, who went a combined 37-64-1 last year.
But this is why the way that Warren Sharp does evaluating strength of schedule matters. So you are right in that those are opponents that were not good a season ago.
So there's differences. There's strength of record from a season ago versus predicted season win totals that Warren puts together. Correct.
And so if you evaluate it and you go, all right, well, I personally think the Colts are going to stink, but Danny Higgins and myself will do battle. Those are our teams in week 1 of the NFL season. But a lot of people are high on Tyler Shuck. A lot of people thought he should have won Offensive Rookie of the Year, or at least made a push for it at the end of the season. Didn't really come close, but you saw the signs of growth there. So what if the Saints are going to be an improved team and much better to start the year? The Cowboys are a team that I think some are relatively high on and can improve, and Schottenheimer did a pretty good job with the offense at times. I think you and I know I am, and I think you agree with me.
Titans
are on the rise, and Cam Ward could be pretty good. I like that staff a ton, and I'm pretty high on Atlanta as well. And then coming out of a Week 6 game on the road against the Browns, you get a Bengals team that I'm pretty high on too. So on paper, you could look at it a bunch of different ways, but I'm going to be curious to see how they come out, because I think you can make the argument, like I'm making, that this schedule actually starts potentially somewhat difficult for Baltimore, especially once you get past that at the Bills, a Jags team that looks like absolutely fantastic.
That's the stretch I was looking at that looks tough. The weeks 8 through 12 are not fun.
Rattle them off.
Bills, Jags, Chargers, at Panthers, at Texans.
Yep.
And this is a Baltimore team, too, that last year was 2-6 against teams that reached the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, they'll smoke the Panthers, and then outside of that,
hey, now, come on. Division champs. Come on. Back to back.
That's right. I forgot. They won. They limped into that thing.
Honestly, it is really sad. I can't remember who we were talking to the other day, but I brought up, I was like, Carolina won the division last year. Oh, man, I forgot that. It's only a couple months ago. Come on, guys. Who else? What other teams stood out to you?
I mean, I think a lot of this isn't going to be, I think, a shock for anybody, because we knew that this was going to happen as well. So the order doesn't really change anything to an extent, but.
Sorry to cut you off, but there weren't a lot of, like, we talked about last year, there were some season win totals where we saw the juice change like 20, 30 cents. There weren't a lot of significant changes after this reveal yesterday.
Which is, to your point, why it's hilarious that this is such a big deal. I mean, I think it's a big deal in the sense of we have these week 1 lines now, obviously, so we know what the week 1 schedule looks like. And so, to spoil maybe something, as we look ahead to next week for Money Moves, we can do our way too early market power ratings for the National Football League season. It's always a good sense of just where the market's at with some of these teams and how they're power rating them heading into the year. So we can do that on Monday. So I think that's a good exercise once these schedules are set. But I would say to this whole entire point, we know that they're going to be bad. But look, the Cardinals' schedule, now that it's on paper, looks pretty daunting for them. They start 3 of 4 on the road. It's at Chargers, at 49ers, and at Giants. The Giants are assumed to be a better team this year. Sandwiched in there is the defending Super Bowl champs, the Seattle Seahawks, at home. The Lions at the Rams, the Broncos at the Cowboys. I mean, this team's not going to be able to really breathe until you get post-bye week when you take on the Jets at home, which... I mean, maybe they'll be favored at that point when Carson Beck is slinging touchdowns like crazy and he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, as I have said that he will. But post-bye, you could see a Cardinals team be winless before they get into the stretch at the end of the year where it's Jets at home, at Saints, home versus the Raiders, and then home versus a 49ers team that may or may not have anything to play for by the time you get there.
Man, what a QB room. You drop Carson Beck, but Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, and Beck, that's your trio.
I better not see Gardner Minshew start a game this year. I'm sorry.
Our own Tim Murray put this out last night after the schedule came out.
Was it Notre Dame kickoff times?
When you look through all of their spreads, they're a dog in every game before the bye week in week 14. The shortest of those 13 games in terms of the odds, plus 4.5 against the Commanders in week 12. They play in the toughest division in football. And then you look through, and maybe I'm a little biased in that, but I think it's fair to say after last season, they are plus 230 favorites for the fewest wins in the NFL. Miami's 4-1, Jets plus 850, Raiders plus 950 before you get to the double digits.
What are the Colts?
Let me pull that back up.
These are just, sorry. Okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
It's okay. No, I just wrote down the top 5. Let me pull it up.
It's fine. It's fine. Move on. Didn't need to slam the brakes here.
No, I was just saying that, like, to further support how challenging their schedule is, and the expectations for Arizona are very low in that. The Bears also, I know this is a team we talked about the other day, but one of the top 4 most difficult schedules in terms of opponent win total looking ahead to this year. The most difficult from strength of schedule and strength of record last year. The last team, I thought this was a fun fact from ESPN Sports and Information Group, the last team to win a playoff game entering a season with the hardest strength of schedule by that metric last year was the 2016 Falcons. And over the last 10 years, 7 of those 10 missed the playoffs entirely. Okay. So not to say just because something has happened that that's what will happen, but the Bears, at least as you see this schedule laid out, look like they are in a really tough position. 5 primetime games as well, including 3 in a row, weeks 7 to 9 against the Patriots, Seahawks, and Bucks. The other 2 are also tough opponents with the Eagles and Bills, and they're playing on almost every day of the week that you can. Yeah. They have 2 Thursday games, 1 Friday, 1 Saturday, Sunday, of course, and then 2 Mondays. 6 short weeks with fewer than 7 days of practice.
For a while, the Bears were our primary candidate for regression. If you remember, I was taking shots at them down the year, and then something changed. Then I got a ticket on them to win the Super Bowl at 31, and I was like, this team's awesome, man.
They kind of just remind me in terms of the way that some of these things look of the Commanders from 2024 to 25. So they reach an NFC championship game, there's all of this hype, and then they go 5-12. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there's injuries a part of it, strength of schedule a big part of it, lots of things. Do want to remind you all, if you haven't checked out Just Win Bets, baby, now is the time, your premier source for daily sports betting picks. 20 leagues, 1 mission. They break down the data so you can bet with confidence across the entire calendar. Scan the QR code on your screen if you're watching on YouTube TV or the VSiN Watch app, or head over to justwinbetsbaby.com. The name says it all. Start today betting smarter with Just Win Bets, baby. We'll be right back.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you're betting the Preakness, don't be like me. Don't just go by name, okay? Get the data that wins. Daily Racing Form's Preakness package gives you the past performances, clocker reports, expert picks, and betting strategies all in one place. And right now, you can save 37%, but only for a limited time. Head over to shop.drf.com or scan the QR code on your screen. Daily Race Form, bet smarter. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Yes?
Sorry.
Every day. This is every day.
It's not every day.
What's so funny now?
Why do you say my name like that?
Jonathan Von Tobel?
You put a strong toe in there.
Sorry that I enunciate.
Von Tobel.
I was going to tell you something you were going to like in a second.
What?
I just came across an article from The Athletic.
Okay.
Headline.
Okay.
AJ DeBonsa is far from a lock at number 1. And more NBA Combine takeaways. There you go.
I'm not crazy about this. I'm crazy about a lot of things. Princess Diana. I think she's still alive. But there's a lot of different things that we can talk about. This thing, though, I am telling you right now, it's going to happen. Now, we've seen a lot of movement. I think, is this accurate right now? Is he back up to minus 310? Yesterday, while we were on the air, he dipped all the way down to what were we at? Minus 250 at one point. Mm-hmm. Minus 300 right now is the current number. Darren Peterson plus 250. He's not LeBron. He's not Victor Wembanyama. I think that there has been conversations around this that is the case. And he could be a very good and very fine NBA player. I'm not saying that he is awful. I'm just saying that in the evaluation of these guys at the top of the draft, he is far from a cinch to go with the first overall selection. That's it.
Also in the commercial break, I did look up the Colts for fewest wins, 35-1.
I'll write that down on my little legal pad.
Might add that to your portfolio. But that said, let's stick with the theme of the NBA here because we have a huge night coming up, and we'll continue to preview these games in the next segment as well when VSiN's own Zach Cohen of Hardwood Handicappers, one of our key NBA analysts, joins the program. He has a couple plays and props to delve into. But for you, JVT, you have been pretty adamant about the Cavs even yesterday. You gave out your play on this game to get ahead of the number, which you did well because at DraftKings and some other shops we're sitting 4.5. You have a 3.5 in pocket. How do you feel about the current number in favor of Cleveland over Detroit?
I mean, I think we're going to get. I'd be willing to bet. Again, I still don't understand the origin of this phrase. Dollars to donuts that we might get back to 3.5. Minus 115 by the time we get to tip off tonight. We'll see if the market kind of believes what I think, that this is going to be finished tonight, or they believe that the Pistons, in some sense of desperation, are going to be able to rally. But I think there's a lot of things that have changed in this series up to this point that are leading us to here. The fact that the Cavaliers have won 3 straight and have an opportunity to close this series out. First and foremost, I think you put at the top is they have changed the way that they're playing defense. They're sending double teams way more often at Cade Cunningham. You're forcing the others to see if they can beat you in any way, shape, or form. And you can do that because you got multiple guys now in this lineup, Stormy, that you're willing to help off of. Asar Thompson, they don't care about him. They do not view him as an offensive threat. They will leave him on the perimeter. He will dribble into traffic. It makes you rotating back to him a lot easier. Those are so many different aspects in which you can now defend at a higher level. And when you're giving it the treatment of, you know what? We don't mind if Cade beats us. We'll send the double teams. We'll try to speed this thing up. We'll try to get the ball out of his hands. But even when he does beat us, look at the last game, a near 40-point triple-double, and they still lose that contest because of what we're talking about here. He doesn't have the offensive support. It goes back to certain players, too, like Tobias Harris. How often we kept saying it was like Tobias Harris. I mean, how does he keep doing this? He was having incredible performances. At one point, had 8 straight games, 20-plus points. That has since cooled off. I believe it was 6 of 17 in the last game. Sub-20-point performance. If you don't get secondary perimeter creation from some of these other pieces, then that's going to be a problem. The bench depth, 2 of the 3 guys Detroit brought off the bench last week, 2 of them were centers. So, you don't really have even that much depth to come off with and say, all right, now I can at least, bring some offensive punch from the perimeter off of my bench, because that hasn't really worked out for you. So I just think that all of the things that we have been waiting for, at least I've been waiting for, and other Cavs people, whether you're fans or supporters, whatever it is, are finally starting to come to fruition. The shooting is starting to even out. The beard is starting to show up. The limitations of the Pistons roster are starting to get there. So we will see if that happens tonight. But we also have this. You said it earlier. Just because it's happened before doesn't mean it's going to happen again, i.e. the Cavs, winning on the road.
Yep.
Having said that, the Cavs have been a much better offensive team at home, and now you get an opportunity to close them out here. And I believe land. I'm in.
Won 3 straight now in this series. Can they close it out tonight? To follow up on one of those latter comments you made about the beard, James Harden coming off a career performance, scoring in the playoffs last game. Is that something that you think is, it's 2 games in a row now that he's been able to elevate his game. Do you expect that to continue? Should we believe that this is the new James Harden?
I have to say yes because I think Cleveland's going to win this game and cover. So I don't think there's many realities in which those 2 things don't happen together.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's going for.
So it's a yes.
Yeah.
There
So
we go.
I don't know if he's going for 30-7. But I do think that he should have an adequate performance and an efficient performance enough to really help this team out. You can't have the. We'll say 15 points, 7 turnovers on 3 of whatever shooting. That can't happen tonight if what I think is going to happen will. So I think that's it. I'll be curious. What I'm going to be interested in from a player prop standpoint for tonight is Jalen Duren and how this is going to happen for him. Because if you go back to the last time when they were up against it, Duren had a pretty good performance against the Orlando Magic. I think it was 15 points and 15 rebounds, somewhere in that range. And Duren has been non-existent in this postseason. He's been non-existent in this series up to this point. But you do wonder if they're going to start to send some doubles at him a little bit more often. Cade Cunningham, that is. How do you circumvent that? How do you navigate that? We can start slipping screens, free rolls to the basket for a guy like Duren. Do we start to see more opportunities for him potentially in terms of his scoring as well? The low mark for him in terms of points. How about this? A near 20-point per game scorer in the NBA. His point total prop today is 10.5. This is how muted he's been in this series, but maybe this is a good opportunity for them to not only just get him involved and give him some confidence, but also just by force of the way the Cavaliers are playing, asking him to do a little bit more.
Again, a point move on this spread right now from 3.5 to 4.5, total to 10.5. Let's go to the nightcap where the Spurs have the same opportunity to close out the set, albeit on the road in Minnesota, laying 5.5. And we saw a point move in this one as well, up from 4.5 to that 5.5. Total sitting 218.5. Victor Wembanyama last game made his presence known, had 27 and 17 boards. What should we expect from him and the Spurs tonight?
I have nowhere near the same confidence in this at all.
Okay.
I've been wrong in this series by far.
But you have continued to fight for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So
right,
is that where you're going again?
I mean, hey, they win. We forced the game 7. So for as wrong as I've kind of been, they've still been hanging around, right? They've been in this series, and they can force the game 7 potentially tonight.
You kept going to the well for Cleveland, and it finally paid off.
That's right. So stubbornness works. What's the stupid meme of the guy with the little pickaxe and there's like all the diamonds behind the dirt?
You gotta keep because you don't want to give up right before you finally get the diamond.
Got to keep digging. So this is what's going to happen here. Let's just keep digging, and maybe it's my grave instead of a treasure trove of diamonds. But either way, I'll go back to the well with 5.5 here with Minnesota. I think first and foremost, even though he's looked pretty comfortable here, 2 days off for a guy like Anthony Edwards with this knee injury has to be good, right? He has not had multiple days off like this. Getting the rest, that has to really help in terms of his explosiveness as an athlete, his ability to score, even though, again, he's coming off like a 30-point performance, has been very good. This is going to really be about two things. It's going to be about Minnesota defensively. You have to be better in transition. We've hit this number before, but in transition in this series for San Antonio off of live rebounds, their efficiency is on par with the best team in the NBA in the regular season in that category. You can't be this bad. You cannot allow these free runs to the basket off of live rebounds if you're Minnesota. We played the clip from Anthony Edwards the other day. You've got to get back. You've got to find your man. You've got to be able to stop the ball. They have not done that, so your transition defense has to be better. Your spacing's got to be better, too. I think they really do miss Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
You see some of the times in which they play. They're overloaded to one side. You can't really find lanes if you're Anthony Edwards to drive. And when you do, even when the floor is open, there is a 7'3" gargantuan alien that is able to just cover ground and absolutely swallow things up and make it difficult as it is. So you do wonder what that means. Does this mean that Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid are split a little bit more? No more of those two guys out of the same floor. Maybe you stagger them more. Maybe it's more Naz Reid. You go a little bit smaller. You put a big out there that can actually shoot the ball and pull dudes out of the paint. I'd be curious to see what that adjustment is. And Jaden McDaniels just got to be better. I mean, he was good in the Denver series. He was absolutely fantastic. And I know that sucks in terms of handicapping things with one of the things that's just, that guy's got to be better. But he does. And so I trust that at home, where role players tend to thrive, that you're going to be able to potentially get this done. And this Minnesota team is weird, man. Non-data, non-analytics. This is just a group that seems to, when everybody thinks it's over, at least give you something. And I will rely on that one time. Many years ago, Anthony Edwards famously said, "Bring your ass," to Minnesota for a series with Denver. Hopefully, everybody brings their ass today.
Wow.
That was poetic.
It's beautiful. We'll have to follow up with Zach Cohen on that coming up in the next segment, where I know he has a handful of prop bets that we will dive into. Before we hit the break here, I did want to let you know I looked it up, from dollars to donuts.
Okay.
This is a phrase that emerged back in the 1870s.
Donuts were around then?
A donut cost about 5 to 10 cents at the time, and betting $1 against something worth a nickel meant you were extremely confident. So it was a rhetorical way of saying, like, you're 99% sure something will happen.
Huh, okay. I didn't know donuts. I don't know why it shocks me that donuts were around in the 1800s. I view them as a modern achievement of mankind.
And yet, going back hundreds of years, would you just look at it? We got to step aside here on Money Moves. When we come back, though, keeping the NBA conversation rolling, a couple massive games coming up. Can both favorites close it out, or could one of these dogs be chippy? We'll discuss further with Zach Cohen coming up after this on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, Pistons dropped the ball in game 5.
Quite literally.
Literally and figuratively. Yep. There we go. Had every opportunity to win and didn't. Have now dropped 3 straight in the series and have their backs against the wall in a gotta-have-it game 6 tonight against the Cavs, in which they are underdogs. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you to further the NBA conversation. Excited to have Zach Cohen join us here on the Progressive Guest Line, senior editor here at VSiN. Does a great job as an NBA analyst for us here, not only on the website, but host of the Hardwood Handicappers podcast. Zach, let's start with that game first. JVT has been adamant. He has been a diehard for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Do you think they can close it out tonight?
Ride or die, baby.
Yeah, we're actually both on that same wavelength. I think ever since the Harden trade went through, we've both been in on Cleveland to win the Eastern Conference. I have it at plus 650. I don't know what you have it at, JVT, but not the greatest number, but will be a much better number if they do advance here. So I am hoping the Cavaliers win tonight. Hate doing this, but I don't actually have a play on this game in terms of the side or total, but I do think laying the points with Cleveland is the right idea. I do think that, you look at the last 3 games, this team is performing better than they did during the regular season when looking at points per 100 possessions. They've clearly unlocked something. I think some of that has to do with them just making more shots, but I also think a lot of it has to do with Evan Mobley doing some really good work as a playmaker for them, which is part of the reason that I do have Evan Mobley over 3.5 assists tonight. Got that at minus 141, posted it to the picks page last night and posted it in my article last night. That's minus 150 now, so a little bit juicier, but I would still take it. He's averaging 5.2 assists per game in this series. He's had 4+ assists in all 5 games, and he had 8 in game 5. So it's only been going more and more up. His usage rate's only been climbing. I think he's going to have a good game tonight.
I know we got a couple player props left in another game, but I'm just curious, when you watch Cleveland defensively, what have you seen? Because it seems like they've changed the way that they want to defend Cade Cunningham, and it looks like they're just kind of letting him do him and making sure that nobody else beats him.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think they've been putting Strus on him. I think that Strus has been doing a much better job than I would have thought. He's being very physical with him, a lot of hand checking, and I just think that that's throwing Cade off enough to throw this entire Pistons offense off. And I think it helped last game. No Duncan Robinson, not having a really good 3-point shooter out there. He's questionable for tonight. If he's out tonight, that's a huge absence. I mean, this Detroit team just doesn't have enough shot making. And you look at some of the struggles they're having with both Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson. If Tobias Harris doesn't come out and score like 25 this evening, I think it's going to be a lopsided game. There's just way too much on Cade's plate right now.
If Charles Barkley could make a bet on this game, I'm sure it would be very pro Max Strus, given all of the comments he's made about what a pretty man he is. But you are looking to bet Max Strus for other reasons tonight. What do you like?
I took Max Strus over 13.5 points and rebounds. It's now 14.5, plus 100. I would still take that. I think that Strus is just going to be on the floor a lot in this game. I just mentioned it. He's been kind of the primary Cade Cunningham defender. He's done a very good job for this Cleveland team on him defensively, so I don't really see any reason his minutes would slip much past the 30 mark. He played a lot last game, had 28 combined points and rebounds. You just kind of look at his numbers in Cleveland over the last couple of years. This is a guy that really doesn't miss when shooting from 3 in his own building. I mean, this year, 45.7% from 3, very small sample size, but you go back to last year, 40% from 3 at home, and it was on very, very high volume. So I think he's going to knock down his open shots. I think he's a threat to kind of make some plays in transition and as a cutter, and then as a rebounder, I do think he's going to chip in a little bit as well. He is a pretty big body and a pretty face.
See, very good. Nice dismount.
He said he's Tom Brady-esque. Like he said, that's the class that Max Strus is in.
I would submit Kelly. I would submit Kelly Oubre on the list of handsome NBA players as well. But let's move on. We go to the Western Conference. The San Antonio Spurs take on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and my hardcore analysis for this game was Jaden McDaniels has to be better. Will he, Zach?
I have McDaniels over 1.5 made threes. I don't know that he's going to be much better, but I do think that that's a really good price to be getting. You can get plus 146. It was plus 155 last night. I think anything plus 140 or better here is a really good number. I mean, he's knocked down 3 threes in 2 of the last 3 games, and his volume has been there, 17 3-point attempts over the last 3 games. And San Antonio is kind of daring him to shoot. And this is a guy that I think over the last couple of seasons, while we've seen the Timberwolves make these deep runs in the playoffs, he's just proven himself to be kind of a big game player. So I think he's going to knock down some shots tonight. I do think he's going to play a good two-way game, and I am with you in being stubborn with Minnesota. I think the Timberwolves are the right side tonight, and I've seen that spread go all the way up to 6 in some spots. I'm hoping I can find a 7.5 at a decent price, but I do think Minnesota is the right side here. I just kind of think there's a whole other level that this team can unlock offensively, and defensively, I'm with you as well, and that the transition defense is just not going to be as sloppy in a do-or-die game. I think that this team has proven to be very well coached, proven to be kind of playoff tough, and I do think San Antonio, for as many tests as they've kind of passed this year, going on the road and closing out a really good team feels like a very difficult one.
So that's kind of where I was going to follow up. Betting a team like Minnesota to cover 5.5 is a different story than if they can upset the Spurs tonight. Do you think that that could be in their wheelhouse? Like, if you're betting them plus the points, do you also have a sense that they could get the win at home tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of thinking that we're going to get a game 7 between one of these two series, and I think it's way more likely we get it with the Timberwolves. I just don't think that there's that much that separates these two teams. If you kind of throw away game 2, these two have played each other very, very closely and very evenly. And I just kind of think that Minnesota needs a little bit more out of Julius Randle, and it's kind of been one of my main handicapping points that's burned me a little bit in this series, but there's no reason that Randle can't play a lot better in this series. Being defended by two wings in Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle, really two guards. And I do think that if they can find a way to pull Wemby away from the basket a little bit, there's more room for Randle and Edwards to attack. And I do think that Randle is going to be one of the X factors for tonight. I think he's going to finally have a big game for Minnesota. And I think that the Timberwolves have a really good shot at winning outright.
All right, I have mentioned multiple times your lust for Cam Boozer in the NBA draft. So walk us through what you like here and how to play this. We only have 3 markets up, first, second, and third overall pick, but how do we tie Boozer into all of this?
Well, for as much as I like Boozer, I don't think he's going to go number 1. I think he would be the best fit for the Wizards, but I do think Boozer to go number 3, which was minus 125 yesterday, is a pretty safe pick because Memphis is a team that has proven over the years to be very analytically driven. And pretty much every number you look at, advanced number from last season says that Cam Boozer is the number 1 prospect in this draft. So I'd be really surprised if the Grizzlies were to pass on a talent like that. But I do think at number 1, you're going to see either Devonsa or Peterson. All
right. Well, so that's what I was going to build on here is the dynamic with Peterson and Devonsa and how this is going to play out. Are you as strong as I am that I think that we're going to get to a point where Peterson's going to be favored at some point to go first? I feel like in our conversations, you're not as strong on that as I am.
I think that Devonsa is going to go 1 or 2. So my only difference with you is that I do not see him slipping past the Utah Jazz. I do think that there's just way too much to the smoke that owner is crazy for Devonsa, wants a superstar that likes living in Utah to be the face of his franchise. And I think that even if the fit isn't as perfect as maybe Peterson would be, I think that Peterson next to Keontae George would be a really good selection for that Jazz team. I don't see them passing on that type of prospect that wants to be in Utah. So I just don't see him slipping past 2. I do see a world where Peterson goes number 1, but I don't have the faith that you do in him slipping to number 3.
What was your reaction to the Darren Peterson story that came out about all of the creatine and everything when you first read it? What'd you think?
I was pretty happy just to hear some sort of solution or answer for what happened last season, because everything we kind of know about Peterson dating back to high school is that he's one of those like fierce competitor work ethic types that desperately wants to win and be out there for his team. And the narrative heading into this draft is this guy doesn't care about basketball. That doesn't really line up with what we know about him. So kind of hearing that there was a reason for why he was dealing with something physically was kind of just nice to kind of put that to bed. And I do think that now we can focus on whether or not this guy is the player that he was in high school, which was an explosive downhill driver in addition to a good shooter, completely different player than what we saw at Kansas. And I do think there's a chance that he ends up being the number 1 pick, and don't think that there's anything wrong with, taking him and hoping for that. But it is just nice to know that there was something that they found.
30 seconds, a name that our audience should be aware of that when draft positions come out, you think that guy could be lower, and that's who you're waiting for.
Yeah, I spoke about this on Hardwood Handicappers, actually. I think the Cameron Carr, after hearing about the way that the draft combine went, that's somebody I'd be going under on their draft position, kind of no matter where it ends up being. I think it'll end up being like 12.5 or 13.5, but I do think he's probably going to go top 10. I just feel like you look at the last couple of years, all of these examples of players that have these crazy measurements, crazy verticals, and end up performing well in that combine setting do end up going higher than expected. And Carr's a player that isn't as much of a mystery as somebody like Cedric Coward was last year, had a really good year at Baylor, projects as a very strong NBA player. I think he's going to end up playing his way into that top 10.
30 seconds on the dot. You're a pro. Thanks, buddy. We appreciate it. And by the way, speaking of pro, that's the code that people can use when they go to vsin.com to check out Zach's great work up on the website. You get a ton of stuff. And if you use the promo code PRO, guess what? 14 months of VSiN Pro access. It's less than 50 cents a day with that promo code. Again, PRO, daily best bets, DraftKings circuit betting splits, AI-powered prop tools, 24/7 video streams, and more. Go to vsin.com. Promo code is, Stormy?
PRO, Pro. We'll be right back. On the way out here, as we welcome you back to Money Moves, let's get into a little MLB action before we round out the day with our best bets headed into the weekend. Why are you frustrated?
No, I'm not frustrated. there's so much going on. It's Friday. I just realized, even though we've talked about it all week, tomorrow's the day.
Oh, for Ronda Rousey.
Yes,
you're so excited.
Carano. But the reason why I thought about this, because it ties into baseball, we have not seen Gina Carano fight since 2009.
Correct.
We are going to see something in baseball today that I believe we have not seen since 2008.
What would that thing be?
The White Sox and the Cubs playing when both of them are over 500.
Wow, no way.
I believe that. Let me double check this.
Be right.
Let me double check this. I believe I saw this. I got to make sure now. That's why I say I believe. I got to make sure I see this. Phil for something. Bloviate for a second. Come on.
Okay, well, I'll hit you with a little bit of the numbers for that game tonight because the White Sox have Sean Burke going. They're plus 113. Home dogs, Edward Cabrera on the other side for Chicago, laying minus 136 on the road. Total 8.5. Slight juice to the under here at minus 117. Is it true?
This weekend marks the first time in 18 years, dating back to June 27th, 29th, 2008 at Wrigley Field, that the Chicago Cubs, 28-16, and the Chicago White Sox, 22-21, will be playing one another in a non-COVID year with each team having winning records. So how about that? There's only one COVID year, by the way. I don't know if people know that.
Strictly 2020?
Yeah. What a time.
My favorite time. It's the worst ever.
Well,
No.
Don't.
No, we were talking about this yesterday.
You're already in dangerous territory.
Sorry, we were talking about this yesterday because we were hanging out in the Summerlin area, which is where I grew up and where I used to live. But I was so sad because the apartment complex that I lived in was really nice, but I lived in it during COVID and didn't get to experience any of the walkability of the area or anything. I was very bummed. That said, yes, Chicago on Chicago crime coming up tonight, both over 500. Where do we go from here? Oh, no, that probably wasn't great segue because of the criminal activity. All right, just go ahead. Just move on.
There's too many low-hanging fruit here.
Moving forward.
Somebody out there's like, that's right. Okay, so Cubs and White Sox, Sean Burke versus Edward Cabrera. Very excited for this matchup here, obviously because of the way the White Sox have been playing. But the pitching matchup does have some intrigue to it. Both guys have been pitching relatively well. ERAs under 4 at this point. Cabrera comes in, though, with some signs potentially of some regression. 3.88 ERA, 4.25 fielding independent, so maybe you can nitpick there over 46 in the third. And Burke's been pretty good. Our own Adam Burke has been tremendous, but Sean Burke has been even better. I think that he's a better pitcher than Adam. I'm sorry. I will go there and say these things. But the whole point
really
here
going out on a limb.
is that Adam's got some thick calves. I think he can do something.
He does have some calves.
44 innings. I think Burke's been pretty consistent. So I don't know. I think all of this being said, little tempted here by the Chicago White Sox at home. I mean, they can hit the ball. Cabrera, if he, again, he's not going to fall off the face of the earth. But if you can see a scenario in which Cabrera comes out, has some issues with the home run this year, that's one of his things, and he gives up a long ball or two, and Burke comes in and his steady self, I think that you could paint a picture here that the White Sox at home, and think about that. I mean, we know this, and obviously those White Sox fans know this series being the first time they're taking each other on, this rivalry where you have a winning record, you can continue that thing. probably a pretty cool environment later today. So all of the sort of things like non-data, all that kind of stuff. I'm excited to watch the series, but also I'm a little tempted by the White Sox today. I think it'll be an interesting look.
Another game with hypothetical crosstown crime. We've got New York taking on New York in the Yankees and Mets as well today.
You're going to set me up here.
Clay Holmes, Cam Schlittler, who's been awesome. He is a minus 157 favorite, starting things off with the Yankees today. Low total with these two going head-to-head at 7. Thoughts?
Well, we've certainly come far away from the Mamdani hugging Mrs. Mets controversy that sent the Mets into a tailspin, that's for sure. But Clay Holmes has been pitching really, really well, and Schlittler, we know, has been absolutely tremendous. But I am going to be really interested to see if these struggles continue for the Mets. We talked about this with Will Hill, and I think he had a really good read on this. It's like, hey, it's the ebbs and flows of a season. If you actually look at the statistics for this bullpen, it has been one that is going to, over the larger sample size, look like it's going to be fine. But I think Holmes is the one that you're going to target here. 186 ERA, 344 fielding independent. You go from, incredible to pretty above average pitcher. So if that starts to show up here against the Yankees, the fact that you look at his strikeout rate, which is down a little bit from a year ago, where he pitched 165 and 2/3 to where he's at this year. Command has been a little bit better, but you're just not inducing some of those swings and misses and getting pretty lucky on balls in play. Opponents hitting 222 against him in that regard. So all of those things being said, you continue to give up the hard contact that you do. I think it makes some sense. You look at the Yankees now, like $1.57. Do you want to go in that direction? It's a pretty hefty price to pay, but the fact that I get Schlittler behind me and a pitcher that does look like he has some signs here of some regression. We saw some spots open at $1.50, now upwards of $1.52, $1.54. I think the market at least pushing this up. If it got to like below the minus, like you see a minus 148 over at Superbook, I think that'd be a playable price on the Yanks today.
Okay, one more here quickly. The Braves lost to the Cubs yesterday 2-0. Kick off a 3-game set today at home against the Red Sox. My boy, Spencer Strider, on the hill today, coming off a really great start in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. Only gave up 1 hit in 6 innings, had 8 strikeouts on the day. Can he replicate that performance today against this Boston team? Atlanta minus 156 at home.
Yeah, this was just the easy, do we just lay a run and a half here with Atlanta? It just seems too easy, right?
Yeah. Plus 135 on the run line.
Yeah, minus 1.5, plus 135. I didn't really have a deeper breakdown other than that, looking at this and going, it's a pretty big lopsided matchup when you look at the way that this is projecting to be from the pitchers that are going at it here. And early, some of the underlying stuff for him, 3.16 ERA, 4.35 FIP. Actually, all of his expected numbers are over 4. So you can see a scenario in which the Braves knock him around. Strider does what he does, and you can sit here and get this done. Again, somebody's going to say, well, they're at home, the run line, you don't get the bottom of the ninth, they're up. Yeah, it's understandable, but that's one of the thoughts that I had. I have many thoughts.
Okay, let's round out the day with the best bets recap first from yesterday, and it was a dub for both of us. We were both riding with the Montreal Canadiens on the money line as a short road dog. They got it done in a big way, 6-3, closing that thing out, and now a potential winner-take-all game coming up tomorrow in that series. I mean, I know this doesn't have anything to do with our bet yesterday, but any feel on whether or not Montreal does get it done tomorrow?
I feel like they're going to close them out. They seem to have been the much better team throughout the series.
Yeah, that's what we said earlier. I felt like even in that game that they lost the other night in Buffalo, like it felt like it was there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or I guess that was at home, but yeah. Felt like they were the better team. Buffalo just got lucky in moments.
I feel like you're leaking confidence. Say it with your chest.
Well, I'm not. I would love this series to go 7.
Why?
Because game 7s in hockey or in any sport are awesome. Best 2 words in sports. Yeah. It's true. It's fun. And this has been a really fun, entertaining series for the most part, back and forth. So I would be down for a game 7. We didn't get one in the Ducks Golden Knights series. Can we get one?
I'd rather be right and have the Montreal Canadiens win because I'm calling it. They're closing it out. Let's go.
All right, cool.
So it's all over.
Well,
done.
I'm not going to root for that, but if you bet it, then I support you. It's exciting.
You wonder why this is the dynamic.
Yeah, you don't have any bets to add today outside of you already bet Cavs minus 3.5 yesterday as a best bet, right? Or do you have anything else? Are you throwing in Timberwolves? Are you throwing in anything else?
Oh, yeah, Timberwolves plus 5.5. Sorry, I forgot to put that in the rundown. I apologize.
Okay, the last couple minutes, since we already discussed both of those games at length, I would love your thoughts on Rousey-Carano. Might as well go there.
Man, okay. Did I send you this video? I sent it to Rob.
No.
The open workout was just...
Oh, you were showing me. You were showing me before the show.
Dude. Look, I am not... I am a fighter in the sense that I've been punched in the face as we have covered the last couple of days, okay? I am not a fighter in terms of being a technical striker in any way, shape, or form. Well, so I will say that I really hope Ronda has learned her lesson in the last 2 big losses that we saw her suffer in the UFC, and that she does not try to stand and strike with Gina Carano. But I also like Rob's thought, and to kind of tie this into an actual bet of, Ron, specifically like an exacta, if you want to take a shot for something fun, Ronda in the second round. I mean, like, I think that they don't want, these are not really big. How am I going to put this?
What was the over-under for rounds? Was it 2.5?
It was 1.5.
Or 1.5. Okay.
I think it was 1.5 shaded to the under. And so my thought was just more of like, they don't want this to end early, obviously. And we have seen these Paul-led cards have some shenanigans to them. And so if there is a thought or a conversation, why don't you wait for the hardcore judo stuff until like the second round? Like don't immediately try to end this thing. And I think there might be something to that to an extent. We saw it with the Joshua fight. I mean, we saw Paul against Mike Tyson just kind of sit there and let him paw at him for a while. Even at the end of the fight, I don't know if you remember, he like stopped and hugged him with like 30 seconds left. Like these things can be kind of nonsensical at times. And so I do think there's going to be an aspect to that. Rousey should win if she plays her game. Hell, she should be able to win early if she really wanted to. But like Rousey in the second round feels like something fun to kind of look for and find.
Or even if the juice is on the under, you could just bet the rounds over. But to your point, Rousey is such a big favorite that you might as well, if you throw it in there.
But also, you could still lose in the second round, right? I mean, because if you go under, she could still finish her in the second round just before the halfway mark of the second round.
No, I was saying over.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. You bet it over, so it's over 1.5. So if she finishes her in the second round, but before halfway through, you could still lose that. You see what I'm saying?
I didn't realize that. I didn't take the minutes and seconds into account there. This is a fun show. Fun Friday edition of the program, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck with your bets. Really excited when we come back on Monday to deep dive into all of the potential series that we will actually know, especially in the NHL. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but we know Vegas and Colorado is set. Will we have a result in Montreal, Buffalo to find out who Carolina is going to play? Reset that whole series in the NBA. We'll also recap the Preakness Stakes this weekend, but you'll have to wait for Monday for that. Stick around here, though. Coming up next, Follow the Money with Mitch and Paul are after this. Enjoy your day.